Good morning. Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me this morning to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's just take a moment to become present, finding a nice, comfortable seated position on a block or pillow, blanket, something that allows the back of your spine and neck to sit nice and long and tall, opening up your chest and opening up your diaphragm and opening up your heart. Let's gently close our eyes and soften our thoughts. Soften our eyes. Soften our shoulders. And soften our hearts. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of this present moment, returning to it again and again. You may open your eyes now. For this morning's intention, may think of a positive word or phrase to have with you on your block and perhaps carry with you throughout the day. This morning's intention I'd like to talk about is Ishvara Pranidhana. Pranidhana. Ishvara Pranidhana. I always practice these things and then I choke when I go to say them. Ishvara Pranidhana, there we go, Pranidhana, is the fifth Niyama of Patanjali's 8 limbs of yoga. Ishvara Pranidhana is Sanskrit for surrendering to a higher power. It presupposes that there is a divine force or something greater than ourselves at work in our lives, which invites us to surrender our egos, to open our hearts, and accept the higher purpose of our being. Surrender is not passive. It is not giving up. It asks us to be strong enough to engage in each moment and engaged in each moment with integrity, and at the same time, be soft enough to flow with the current of life. For our meditation this morning, there is a mudra called Pranidhana. Now I got the hang of it. And it aids in letting go of burdens, of letting go of limiting beliefs, and letting go of old habits and the need to control. For the mudra, you would take your middle and ring fingers and bring them to your thumbs, extending the index finger and the pinky up. And then you would bring the pinky and the index fingers together. And you can have that open and just kind of sitting, resting your wrists on your lap. And again, that aids in the letting go of burdens, of limiting beliefs, of old habits, and the need to control. Speaking of meditation, we often have an affirmation, and I thought, kind of pulled from an old script that I had where I had mentioned the Serenity Prayer, and I thought we'd use that as our affirmation this morning. So I'm going to read through the Serenity Prayer once, and then I'm going to read through it again, and you can join me either out loud or to yourself, and maybe continue that on for a few moments. So the Serenity Prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So if you'd like to join me in the Serenity Prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We'll just do that meditation for a little bit. Alrighty, so this morning again we'll be doing Yin Yoga. And Yin Yoga is often called the yoga of the joints because unlike other types of yoga, the emphasis is not on the muscles, but on the deep connective tissues, the fascia. And if you think about an orange, on the inside of an orange, you have all this white membrane. It kind of covers between the fruit and the rind, and it also is in between all the segments. That's kind of like our fascia. It holds things together inside of us. And so the Yin Yoga is kind of an exercise for that connective tissue. And there's three principles of Yin Yoga. The first one is to find your edge, or I call the sweet spot. And it's you let your intuition be your teacher, which you should do in any type of yoga. And when you're letting your teacher, your intuition be your teacher, you would compassionately kind of lean into that pose. You would know, based on yourself, you being unique, what is best for you. The second principle is to become as still as you can be. So this one's the tough one. means stillness in mind and stillness physically. And stillness is the gateway to being present. So, still in the mind, you're not thinking about your to do list, you're not thinking about what you've done in the last couple week. You're present, you're still, so that makes you focus on this moment for yourself. And physically will be still as well. And then well, to speak to that part, physically, typically a Yin Yoga pose is held 3 to 5 minutes. But because we don't do this as our regular practice, we'll hold each pose 2 minutes. And there's some that are focused on the left side, some focused on the right side, and we'll hold those each for 2 minutes. And then the last principle is to surrender to time. So you're going to transcend from doing to just being and being still. So let's begin. I'm going to bring my glasses to the mat because I'm going to have affirmations for you throughout this practice to go along with your pose. So begin. And some of the poses might benefit from a towel. I have my trusty beach towel and I have it set up so that it's kind of the long way. So I can put my knees on it. And there's another pose that I like to use it the long way. And then also a block or two. So we'll begin. And again, I'll be having some affirmations to go along with the poses. So you can focus on those. Stilling your mind again. We're trying just to get away from looking to the future, your to-do list, and looking in the past, just kind of staying present. So if those affirmations help you to stay present, that's great. And then for the pranayama, we're just going to have our natural breath, but if you can focus on the inhale, kind of inviting that pose into your body, and then the exhale of your exhale would be focusing on the joints, kind of sending, if you do feel a little tension, send those exhales internally to that joint to see if you can feel it loosen up a little bit. And if not, then make a little bit of a joint adjustment. Again, the first principle is to follow your intuition. So find what works for you. So we're going to start on our backs in reclined mountain pose. And just going to come down to your mat, get yourself nice and comfortable in here. And just kind of a refresher how Yin is different than, say, restorative yoga, where you kind of, restorative yoga, you're kind of relaxing into the pose. Its intention is to restore. So you're relaxing to restore. It's kind of like when you sleep your 8 hours at night. You're restoring your body. So Yin is an active style of yoga. So in reclined mountain pose, we would have our toes flexed and pointing up to the sky. You'd activate then your legs. So you feel your muscles in your legs be energized. Your navel would be tucked down toward the mat. Your shoulders are relaxed into the mat. Your crown of your head's reaching to the top and your chin is pulled in. So you're trying to create that long connection with the back of your neck and the spine all the way down to your tailbone. So you can feel the energy that is in your body. Now just take that and relax everything. And that's Shavasana, or that's a restorative pose. So you feel the difference of Shavasana versus reclined mountain pose where you're activating everything. So let's begin. Hit my timer here. Again, we're going to do 2 minutes. And if there's two sides to the pose, we'll do 2 minutes on each side. So we're going to bring our knees to our chest. Give them a nice hug. Just kind of wiggle in there. Wake up your spine. And then take those interlaced fingers and bring them to your left knee, extending your right foot all the way down to the bottom of the mat. Toes, both toes are pointing up to the sky, having your legs flexed. And you can either have your leg on the mat, or if you'd like to engage your core a little bit more, you can raise that right leg slightly off the mat for the 2 minutes. And I will start. And the affirmation is, today I celebrate the joy and wonder within. Today I celebrate the joy and wonder within. Bring your knee back to your chest and give it a hug. And that was 2 minutes. Sometimes it feels like 20 minutes. But again, the third principle is that transcending from doing to just being. That is sometimes tricky. So let's do that on the other side. Interlace our fingers around our right knee, extending the left leg all the way down the end of the mat, flexing the feet so that our legs are energized. And you can either have your leg on the mat or raised up slightly to activate your core. Let's start. Again, the affirmation is, today I celebrate the joy and wonder within. Today I celebrate the joy and wonder within. And you can bring your left knee to your chest. Give both legs a hug. And then we'll send both feet down to the bottom of the mat, back to reclined mountain pose. Toes are flexed, shoulders relaxed, snug into the mat. And then we're going to go into reclined pigeon. So there's options for you here as well. Slide your right foot up to the point where it connects with the left knee and your legs are in a figure four. That's one option. And then you can place your right ankle on top of your left leg, right above the knee, and bring your left foot to the floor. That's another option, with guiding your right knee to the right side. And then the third option would be lifting the left leg off the mat, flexing both feet up to the sky. And here you can either interlace your hands behind your thigh and guide it to you, or you can use a little resistance by pushing your right ankle into your left knee as you're pulling your left knee toward your chest. So those two contact points are pushing against one another, creating a little resistance. We'll start now. And the affirmation is, my inner self always knows what to do. My inner self always knows what to do. And then you can release your legs back down to the mat, sliding the feet all the way down, coming into reclined mountain pose. And then we'll do that on the other side. So we slide the left foot up, and you can rest it there in the figure four of your legs, or placing the left ankle on top of the right leg, just above the knee, placing the right foot to the mat, flexing the left toes to the sky. And then the third option would be lifting the right leg up, flexing both feet, creating a little resistance if you want, or wrapping your fingers around your back of your thigh. Either will be suitable. And again, the affirmation is, my inner self always knows what to do. My inner self always knows what to do. And this is one that I found that I was needing to send my exhale internally to the tension that was in my legs. And you can release and bring both feet to the mat. And we'll bring both knees to the chest and give them a nice hug. And you can either roll over to your side or roll up to, we're going to go into tabletop pose. So either roll over to the side, come up to tabletop, or roll up into tabletop. And when you're in tabletop, you're going to just bring both legs off to the side, kind of switch both legs off to the side, say bring them to the right side. And then you're going to sit down so that you create the letter M with your knees and coming into deer pose. So with your upper body, you can either stay straight like this, or you can twist to the left, right hand on the left knee, left fingertips behind your hips, or twist to the other side. Take a moment to see which you find works for you today. And then we'll start. And the affirmation is, I feel deeply connected to my own spirit. I feel deeply connected to my own spirit. And you can come back to center and come back to tabletop and just swing your legs to the other side and come back down. So you have the M shape going to the left. And same idea, you can twist to the left, go stay straight ahead with a nice straight back, or twist to the right. And the affirmation is, my inner self always knows what to do. My inner self always knows what to do. And you can release from that pose. Then we're going to come back to tabletop and bring our knees to the edges of the mat, our big toes together for a wide-legged child's pose. You sit back on your heels and then lower down. And you may want to have a blanket here, maybe to rest your arms on, rest your chin against. We'll be here 2 minutes. And the affirmation is, my internal dialogue is kind and loving. My internal dialogue is kind and loving. Come back to tabletop. And our next pose will be Sphinx, and you can keep this towel there if you have it. Bringing your elbows down on it, coming down onto your tummy. So your elbows are right below your shoulders. Hands are pointing to the top of the mat. The tops of your feet are planted in the mat and active. So you're kind of pushing down into the tops of your feet for an active Sphinx pose. We'll be here for 2 minutes. And if this is too much on your shoulders and your elbows, you can guide your hands forward just a little bit so it takes that stress off of it. So let's begin. The affirmation is, I am patient with myself and others. We are all doing our best. I am patient with myself and others. We are all doing our best. And we can come up to tabletop again. The next pose is a two-part pose. It's a downward dog for half a minute and then pigeon pose. And it's actually called swan pose in Yin Yoga, but it's pigeon pose for a minute and a half. So I'm just going to demonstrate. So the downward dog, curl our toes under, come into downward dog, and get my towel out of the way. And this is just going to be a still downward dog, no pedaling. So wherever your feet land that are comfortable, either if it can be flat on the mat or just raised slightly. We'll do that for half a minute. And then I'm going to just give the cue pigeon pose. And you're going to bring your knee to the back of your wrist, sliding the other foot down and come into pigeon pose. And with the pigeon pose, you may want to use the towel alongside or a block alongside, depending how you rest. But the extended leg should be straight back, and then the other leg, you can have your foot on a diagonal or straight under, whatever will work for you. All right, so let us begin. So from tabletop, we'll go into downward dog. And pigeon pose. So slide into pigeon pose. And I'll give you the affirmation. I am willing to be at peace with myself and others. I am willing to be at peace with myself and others. And you can come back to tabletop. Just your towel blanket to the other side. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. We're going to do downward dog for half a minute and then go into pigeon pose, bringing your left knee to your the back of your left wrist on the mat. And you can support your leg with a blanket or a block if you want. All right, so then you go up to downward dog. And then to pigeon pose. And the affirmation is, I am willing to be at peace with myself and others. I am willing to be at peace with myself and others. All right, you can come out of that and back to tabletop. Our next pose is hero pose, and you can use a block to sit on if you want, like that, or if you want, you can just sit on your ankles. You can support your knees. That's hard. Kind of get yourself comfortable in that pose, and we're going to bring our hands around the back and create a bind, bringing our fingertips down toward our feet. So this will be the hero's pose for 2 minutes. And the affirmation is, at this moment, I am grounded, present, and serene. At this moment, I am grounded, present, and serene. And you can release from that pose. Should have suggested having the towel under the tops of your feet, as it would have felt a little bit better. I think my feet kind of fell asleep in that. All right, the next pose we're going to do is a bridge pose. So we're going to come down on our back, and we're going to have a block to support us. Let me bring my stuff down here. So coming down for the bridge pose, if you lift your hips up and just set the block underneath your lower back there. And if you don't happen to have a block today, but you still have a pillow or blanket, you can kind of roll that up and set that up. or if you don't have either of those, bring both feet to the edges of the mat, and just have your knees rest together. So ideally, bridge pose with the block underneath. You can try without a block being in bridge pose. That will be quite the effort for 2 minutes. All right. And the affirmation is, I am aligned with my higher purpose. I am aligned with my higher purpose. And you can remove the block or blanket, bringing your lower back down to the mat. Next pose is going to be the reclined goddess, or in Yin Yoga terms, it's actually called butterfly, which is a lovely pose to have this time of year with the yellow swallowtail and the monarchs coming in. So you can do the butterfly one of two ways. You would bring your feet together, the soles of your feet together, and open your knees to each side. And you can support your knees by placing a block underneath them. Or my favorite way of doing it is taking my towel the long way and wrapping it around my feet, bringing the soles of my feet together and just having them kind of cocooned, my ankles cocooned in that blanket. You can support your knees with the blocks too, if you like. We'll start the 2 minutes. The affirmation is, I trust that my life is unfolding exactly as it should be. I trust that my life is unfolding exactly as it should be. Bring your hands to your legs and gently guide your legs back together again. And then bring your knees to your chest. Give them a nice hug. And our last set of poses is going to be reclined twists. So bringing your knees to your chest, giving them a nice hug. And then extending your arms out at shoulder height, forming a T. And then dropping your knees to the right. And then sending your gaze to the left. Look at your left fingertips. And the affirmation is, I send out healing energy into the world and lovingly receive it back. I send out healing energy into the world and lovingly receive it back. Bring your head back to center and then take your knees and bring them back to center. And then guide your knees over to the opposite side. Your gaze will be on your right fingertips now. The affirmation is, I send out healing energy into the world and lovingly receive it back. I send out healing energy into the world and lovingly receive it back. Just surrender into this for a few more minutes. And you can release from this pose by bringing your head back to center, bring your knees back to center. Let your legs slide down to the end of the mat, coming into each corner with your heels, bringing your arms alongside, preparing for Shavasana. And with this, you can relax. Take some deep inhales and exhales, just letting your body release and surrender into the mat. And I have a closing poem by Mary Oliver titled, I Worried. I worried a lot. Will the garden grow? Will the rivers flow in the right direction? Will the earth turn as it was taught? And if not, how shall I correct it? Was I right? Was I wrong? Will I be forgiven? Can I do better? Will I ever be able to sing? Even the sparrows can do it, and I am, well, hopeless. Is my eyesight fading, or am I just imagining it? Am I going to get rheumatism, lockjaw, dementia? Finally, I saw that worrying had come to nothing, and I gave it up. I took my old body and went out into the morning and sang.